Yeah, Pete, pretty big game for you guys, obviously. It's a final. Oh, sorry, Paul, is it?
That's all right.
Sorry, I'm going to start that again. Paul, coming up against Lakers, last time you played them, I think you were 10 goals to 1 or something along those lines at quarter time, and you sort of just blew them out of the park early. What can we expect this time?
It'd be good if we could expect the same thing again, same result, but that's probably not going to happen. Look, we just pride ourselves on trying to win a bit more contested ball and that, and yeah, you know, we know what we're going to expect. It's finals football. It's just going to be tougher. We've got the advantage of the home ground, which is a great thing for us this week. But we know what to expect, and that, we're pretty confident our boys will be ready to take on the challenge. And, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to welcome Wendouree to Darley Park.
Yeah, it must be a massive advantage, and I suppose you've been a bit lucky in the way that it has ended up in your home ground. Like, there's no guarantees with the way that the league does the final system. So, but obviously, getting that at your home ground, it must be at least a few goals advantage, I think.
I'm not sure about a few goals advantage. You'd rather have it than not. Certainly doesn't put scores on the board for you, but it's probably just a comfort factor of that you are in your rooms. You know, familiarity of the ground and the way you like to play your own home ground. And that, but it's probably about as far as it goes. It certainly doesn't put a point on the board for you, so to speak. Yeah.
It's been I suppose, a bit of a funny season. You guys started fairly slowly and looked like you were in a bit of trouble there, but then you won a massive streak of games in a row and sort of cemented your spot in the top six. Yeah, how do you view the season in terms of how it's progressed throughout?
It was definitely slow. I think we were 1.5 after 5 or 6 games, and after the Melton game where we drew with them down at McPherson Park, we really had to look at what we were doing, because obviously what we were doing for the first 6 weeks wasn't working. And we tried to change our game plan a little bit from what we had last year under Rob McPherson. And we had to tinker it even more after round 6, which was an effort within itself. So I'm sure other clubs are aware now we're pretty much a high rotation unit now from round 6 onwards. We probably had to put more faith into the guys that were on the bench at the time and other people coming into the side. We probably fell for an old trick, I suppose, of putting your lesser players on the bench and keeping them there for too long and not putting them out on the dance floor earlier. So now it's just a case of when their time's up to come on or come off it, you know, full faith in those that are going on, and the boys have repaid us in spades in that area. There's a lot of young kids coming through that club. It's I think even just last week we had about 5 under-18s play with us too, which is it's exciting time for Darley, really.
Yeah. So has that been one of your big turnarounds, you think, just that you overuse the rotations more when you haven't stuck with your 18 players as such, that you've been able to rotate them more? Yeah,
well, it's the only thing that we could obviously sit back and look at and say, well, what's changed since round 6 to now? And that's really the only thing that's changed. The player personnel hasn't changed. We've been fairly lucky with injuries. We've really only had 2 or 3 players miss each week, which is normal. Most sides have 2 or 3 players out each week. So that's the only thing we can really put it down to. Since we've started doing it, we've dropped 2 games, and obviously one was last week.
And any injury concerns this week? Obviously, Reece Ellis missed out last week, and he's been in a fair bit of form. Anyone else sort of under injury pressure at the moment?
No, we should be right. We should have a full list. We got through last week unscathed. We had about 4 boys that did sit out last week just for a general soreness, and yeah, that was basically about it. We had Harley Ingles pull out of the morning of the game just with a flu virus, but he'll be right to go. Apart from Nathan Jackal, he won't come back for the year. He broke his arm against Bacchus Smash 5-6 weeks ago, so he's gone for the year. But no, she's a full list for us. There's no dramas there. The kids are kids are jumping out of their skin at the moment, so it's good.
Yeah. What about the big fella, Travis? He came back, I think he played his 350th last week, and he's might have been his first senior game for the year. Was that just more of a farewell match, or might he play some finals?
No, look, whether he's 350th or not, he had to play. We had a young 17-year-old play his first game against Melbourne South, and he didn't come up too well after that. He got a bit of a working over. Scotty McAllister, we've rested him for the last 2 weeks, but he trained strongly last night. So it certainly wasn't a charity game for Travi. We needed him, and he done quite well too for a dinosaur. He got around all right. You wouldn't have liked him to have been out on Eureka Stadium on that, but on our ground he covers the ground okay, and he done a serviceable job for us, which was pleasing.
Is there a chance he might play this week?
Yeah, well, there's a chance. I mean, Scotty's still got to get through tomorrow night, and we'll probably have a light run again on Saturday morning, as we're a Sunday game this week, aren't we? Yeah, so we'll probably have another light run on Saturday morning, and if things pull up all right, I'd say Scotty will definitely come in. Whether we take 2 big ruckmen into the game or not, we'll have a look at the conditions on Sunday morning before we make that final call.
Thanks, mate. In terms of your young players that perhaps are experiencing senior finals football for the first time, how do you go about preparing them and making sure they're not overawed by the occasion, given that you know the personalities of the young players that we're talking about there?
Well, I think the first thing is the luxury of having that home game at home, that they have got that safe environment kind of thing, if you like, that comfort zone in that area. A lot of them played last year's finals also, and we had 2 finals last year, like young Harley Inglis and your Darcy Gallops. Even people forget Reece Ellis is only a 22-year-old, Shane Page is only 22 also. So, and coming from Kyneton, who I had them boys up at Kyneton with me, they certainly didn't experience too many wins, let alone finals football. So it was new for them as well. But young Nick Thacker, first year senior football, he's going to experience finals this week. Young Wilksy, he'll experience finals this week. Level-headed kids, you know, they haven't really discovered alcohol yet, and if they have, they haven't been in front of us anyway. So they're never late for training. They do the right things on and off the track. So they just seem a little bit mature for the years. I know what I was like at 18 and playing football. But they seem a very level-headed young group, and full credit to the club and their parents. They're a good bunch of kids.
So do you think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of getting them up for a finals occasion such as this, or from the way that you're talking, it sounds like they've got a pretty good handle on what this is all about?
Yeah, I don't think you need to get anybody up for finals footy, and if you did, you'd probably have to question why they're in the side. It's what you do, isn't it? You start your pre-season back in October kind of thing, and that November, and this is what you do it for, is for these games here. And, you get up early Saturday morning or Sunday, whatever day the game's on, and Recce doesn't quite go down as good as it did a couple of weeks earlier, and the butterflies start going. That's a great feeling, and it happens for the kids, it'll happen for the senior players, and it certainly happens for seniors, assistants and coaches alike, that it's a business end now. It's what we're here to do, and them kids will be fine.
And you finished 4th, so how realistic is your campaign for the flag, and where does this sit in terms of your pre-season expectations? Would you be satisfied to win a final, or is it kind of like go all the way, or the season hasn't been successful?
If things go our way on Saturday and Ritz boys can overcome Ballarat for us, and we do the right thing and go out and have a win, you then pick up that double chance. So we truly and firmly believe at Darley we're capable of making the grand final, and so should the other 5 sides in the competition too. But we're also realistic to know that they're the white hot favourites up at North, and But once you're there, anything can happen. You know, you've just got to obviously get there. But, once you're there, you know, it's uncharted waters for both sides. You get them on a bad day, your boys are up and about, you add a bit of doubt into their head at quarter time, half time, and drag them down. You know, then let everybody off their leash at 3/4 time, and well, who knows? But it's a long way off in the distance yet. We're just focusing on what we need to do come Sunday, and just a 1 point win will do for us. That's all we want to do. Walk away with the points.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, fellas.
Good on you. Gavin, there were obviously a lot of players missing the final home and away match, and the scoreline, in everybody's estimation, doesn't appropriately reflect what Lake Wendouree is about this year. So let's just start with how many blokes are likely to come back into the lineup for the first final?
There'll be 4 or 5, so Ash Simpson played VFL on the weekend. We're assuming we'll get him back. Hugh Herbert, another young player, has had a good year, will come back in. Andrew Casey, who's just getting over a slight ankle injury, he'll play. Probably could play on the weekend, but we didn't risk it. And myself, so there's a couple of other younger guys that see how they go training this week. So yeah, there'll be 4 or 5 changes. We had to move on pretty quick from Sunbury. You can't forget about it, but you learn the lessons from it, and then move forward pretty quick to Darley. So.
Is there any danger that in any way any of your players are going to be scarred by that, or are they going to look ahead and just say, no, now we've got our 4 or 5 blokes back in and now we're really going to switch on? Is it that easy to be able to take the side out of that sort of heavy loss and then just switch back on?
Yeah, oh look, I think if we just have to move on, and we did before we even left the rooms from Sunbury. We were talking about Darley, and the guys were pretty jovial Sunday morning at recovery, so we'll train Monday, we'll train again tonight. So, like all the guys have said, if they can't get up for a final, and for most of the guys it'll be their first senior final, so it's pretty exciting for the whole club, and all the young guys in particular. So, we move on from the home and away season. All the home and away season does is distinguish who deserves to play at the end of the year, so we've earned that right, and we've won enough games to qualify, so the main part of the season starts now.
And the last couple of years have been pretty lean since the premiership success.
Yep.
And so what does it mean for the current crop? And I suppose, given the fact that I've only been in town for 2 years, what percentage of the players that are currently on your list are players that maybe have experienced the ultimate?
Yeah.
And now what does it mean to be back into that
look,
action?
I think there's 4 guys on the list that played in 2010, so it's a total new group. The side we've got at the moment has been very similar the last 3 seasons, so this group's come through and we've been working hard for 3 years to get to this stage. So we set goals at the start of the year to make the 6, and we have, so we're not going just to roll over on Saturday and say, yeah, we've had a good year, well done, we'll try and recruit and go next year. We're pretty focused on this week, and we know our best is good enough to win a final. We've been a little bit inconsistent over the year, and that can happen with the young side, but there's no excuses this week. So.
And clearly you've already identified the fact that Sunday is your focus, and you won't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but at the same time, what is the expectation of what this year might actually produce for you, just like
look, I think externally, I don't think anyone thought we'd make the finals and probably would finish 9th where we did the last 2 years. But internally, if we didn't make the finals, we thought we would have underachieved. We've had a lot of injuries, as all clubs do over the year. So I think to expose, we've had 9 under-18 guys play seniors this year. 2 of them will definitely play on Saturday, so that's good for them. I think we've used 40 players on the list, so some guys have probably got some senior footy that maybe weren't quite ready, but a couple of those have surprised on and are probably going to keep their spot for Saturday. So everything we've looked at, every game, whether we've won or lost, it's just all been learning experiences, and Saturday we're learning experience as well, but in saying that, you want to win the game. So.
And you've played quite a few games, particularly your home games, in fairly heavy conditions this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure what condition Darley Park's in right at the moment, but given the fine weather and the like, you're going to have to put a fair bit of thought into the composition of your side, given the fact that you might be playing a totally different style of football to that which you've played for the bulk of the year.
Yeah, oh look, I think as soon as we got off our ground, their form's been a bit better, bar against Rick's on Saturday. But We're not a overly big side physically, so it probably suits us to get out on the open spaces and play on a bit more and kick to space rather than playing at Wendouree in the mud, coming up against the more experienced teams. We just physically haven't been strong enough, so I think it will help us. But in saying that, it's going to be pretty hot and a lot of contested footy, a lot of stoppages and all that. So I think if we can break even in that part of the game, we see our strength as running and playing on, so that's what we need to do. So yeah, it will be a different style of footy to what we've played a lot of the year, but in saying that, guys are more enthusiastic, training's picked up, footies are dry, it's the best time of the year, so it's all positive.
Yeah, and just finally from me, from your own personal perspective, obviously you've missed a couple of games and you had the issue last year with a bit of concussion and the like, and you're back. So just from a personal perspective, it must be really, really exciting to be able to take the side into a big game like this.
Yeah, it is good. I think from my point of view, my focus is coaching. You still want to get a few kicks, but your head's certainly thinking about team things and what you need to do in the opposition. So, look, this year I've missed a few games, but I've just given opportunities to younger players and even opposition's key forwards. Most of the time I've given the opportunity to 2 or 3 other guys to play on those guys. So I've probably had a lot less a role this year and spent the games I have played, I've been on the bench a lot more. So, other guys have stepped up. So.
All right, thanks, Gavin.
It's been a funny old year. How hard has it been not being able to train at home, which you haven't done for probably 6 or so weeks?
Yeah.
And I think you're training at a Dunstan tonight.
Yeah.
How much of a disadvantage is it?
Oh, look, I think it's overplayed a bit. For years we haven't been able to train on our ground from July onwards. The year we won the premiership, the last 8 weeks of the season we didn't step foot in the ground. So training in gyms, other ovals, soccer fields, we've done it for years. So I think you've got to just turn it into a positive, and if anything, it gives the group a bit more resilience that, well, things haven't gone our way, we don't get to train on a top ground every night, but brings the group a bit closer together. You turn into a bit of a fun session sometimes with some of the venues we've been at, but the last few weeks we've been able to get on some decent ovals around Ballarat. So look, it's not ideal, but it's once you get to training and you've got a surface, away you go. So,
do you think as you said, it could actually help on game day? The guys might just be that bit closer because they arguably do have a tougher time during the week to go between all these different places.
Yeah.
Do you think it can work?
Look, it's like other Ballarat sides. We enjoy getting out of Ballarat during the year, going down to Melton and Darley and these places to play and put the moulded soles back on rather than playing in the mud. So, and look, it's a final, so we don't mind playing down at Darley. Thanks for that, Nanny. But it's, my young player said, "Oh, why are we playing at Darley?" And I said, "Well, would you rather be watching this week or playing?" So it doesn't matter where you play. We're happy to play down there on a Sunday. Once the ball bounces, there's 4 posts up each end, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
What are your thoughts in there? Normally one of the more, I suppose, intimidating grounds to travel to and play, and it's probably going to be even more so because it is a final.
Yep.
What are your thoughts heading down the highway?
Oh, look, the guys will just carpool down like we normally do. We'll meet at the ground and drive down together. We played down there early in the year, which was unsuccessful. We had a terrible first quarter. The rest of the game, I think, was 11 goals to 10 after quarter time. So we've reviewed that game pretty thoroughly, and even other games I've seen Darley play this year. So they're certainly very dangerous. So we need to try and get the game on our terms. But no, the travel factor, home ground, all that it's irrelevant.
That's it for me.
Yeah. Thanks very much, fellas. Appreciate that.